Scary, right? But let's dive deeper. First off, what does that even mean? Well, think about the essentials: water, oil, coal, natural gas, even trees. If these resources are finite, once we use them up, they're gone forever. Okay, so what happens next? For starters, let's talk about water. Without replenishable water sources, we'd face massive droughts. Agriculture would take a huge hit. No crops, no food. Cities would turn into ghost towns. And the cost of water? Sky high. Now think about energy. Oil and natural gas power our lives. From cars to electricity, it's everywhere. If they ran out, we'd scramble to find alternatives. Sure, renewable energy is great, but could it meet global demand overnight? Unlikely. We'd face blackouts and industries would shut down. The economy would spiral. Trees too. No more paper, furniture or homes built from wood. And let's not forget their role in producing oxygen and absorbing CO2. Without them, air quality would plummet. Global warming would accelerate. Life as we know it would change drastically. So, could we survive? Maybe. But we'd need to adapt fast. Innovation would be our best bet. So let's cherish what we have and use it wisely, because in the end, we only have one Earth. Keep questioning, keep showering.
All right. So, yun yung video natin. Okay, so kung babalikan natin yung question dun sa video, ang tanong doon, imagine waking up tomorrow in a world without clean water, without fertile soil, without metals and minerals, or reliable energy. Okay, so let that sink in. Pag-isipan natin kung ano yung ganun scenario. Okay, so come to think of it, nakakatakot. Kasi without water, we would lose drinking supplies. So, anong iinumin natin? Okay, di ba? Yung sanitation systems, magkakaproblema. Irrigation for agriculture, magkakaproblema din. Without soil, so paano tayo mag-grow ng plants? Paano mabubuhay ang mga plants? And what would happen to food production? So definitely magko-collapse ang food production cycle natin. Without metals naman and minerals, we would not be able to build yung mga infra na kailangan natin. So yung mga buildings, yung bridges, machines, even the electronics, they would be impossible without the supply of metals and minerals. And without energy, well, yung modern society natin, they would stop functioning now because we are very reliant on energy. So no electricity, walang transportation, walang internet. My God, 'di ba? So this simple thought experiment, isa lang yung kumbaga gusto nating i-emphasize on this one. So yung natural resources, they are the foundation of human civilization. So everything we build at yung lahat ng ginagamit natin, everything we consume, ultimately is galing from Mother Earth. Okay? So what do we intend to learn from this topic? Okay, so I have here on the slide, there are lecture objectives. So by the end of this lecture, you should be able to do four things. Okay, so first we have to identify the major natural resources that support society. Second, kailangan natin ma-explain how water, soil, minerals, and energy sustain human activities. Thirdly, sana maintindihan natin the environmental challenges that arise kapag yung mga resources na ito ay naubos na or na-manage poorly. Okay, so that's a very big issue. And last one, we have to recognize the role of engineers, yung kumbaga, the importance of us engineers in the cycle in conserving and managing these resources. So dapat nating tandaan, we should remember, ang environmental science is not just about yung naiintindihan natin yung nature. It's not just about understanding nature. It's more of about making responsible decisions. Kasi when we begin to design systems, nakikipag-interact tayo sa environment. And when we are doing that, we always have to consider yung kapakanan, yung future condition ng ating environment. Okay, so let us begin. I will be moving on to the next slide. Let us begin this lecture with defining or knowing what are the natural resources. Okay, So if we are going to define natural resources, these are the materials or the substances that come from the earth. So yun yung main concept doon. It comes from the earth. That's why they're called natural resources. And they are used by humans to survive and develop. Okay, so itong mga resources na ito, pinoprovide siya ni Mother Nature. That's why, yun nga, they are coined the term natural resources. So tayo mga tao, we humans, we try to extract them. So kinukuha natin sila from nature, pinaprocess natin sila, and eventually we convert them into useful products kung depende kung anong pangangailangan natin. So ang examples ng natural resources would be this one would be water. Second would be soil, including also would be forests and minerals. And we also have fossil fuels. And kasama din dyan ang energy. Okay, so this one would be representing energy renewable resources. So even something as simple as yung plastic bottle, pwede natin siyang ma-trace back to one of those natural resources kasi pinaprocess natin siya out of the materials na kinukuha natin from Mother Earth. So when we talk about natural resources, we are really talking about the raw materials that support modern life. So lahat halos ng kailangan natin para mabuhay is galing sa Mother Earth. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Okay, we have the types of natural resources. Okay, so we have two types, renewable and the non-renewable. So the first category would be the renewable resources. So they are the ones that can be regenerated naturally within the human time scale. So ano ang mga included sa renewable sources natin? So under it would be water. So we have soil, we have the forests, and we have solar energy, wind energy, etc. Okay, so these ones, the renewable resources, hindi sila, kumbaga, hindi, they don't come unlimited. Okay, so nauubos din, pwedeng maubos din mga yan. So if these resources ay naubos faster than they can regenerate, then magkakaroon din tayo ng depletion ng renewable resources. And we have to consider another type of non-renewable resources, which we have to consider another type of natural resources, which is yung ating ang tinatawag na non-renewable resources. So these ones naman, itong mga resources na to, they come from extremely slowly um, production. Parang napakatagal bago nabuo itong mga resources na to. It would take over millions of years bago nabuo, bago nakapag-accumulate itong resources na to. So what are the samples that we have under non-renewable resources? So under it, we have the fossil fuels, we have the metals, and we have minerals. So what happens is that kapag itong mga non-renewable resources na to ay na-extract na at na-consume, hindi na sila mare-replace, hindi na sila mapapalitan, hindi nila kayang mag-regenerate within a human lifetime. Kasi normally, human lifetime, maybe we could say, mahaba na, 100 years. So, in 100 years, the non-renewable resources cannot be regenerated. Masyadong matagal bago makabuo uli ng another supply of the non-renewable resources. So, because of this, ang pinaka-major concern natin with the non-renewable resources would be yung depletion or yung pagkaubos niya. So, next slide. We would be talking about the resource use and sustainability because of the issue nga ng depletion of our resources. We have to understand kung paano ang tamang paggamit ng mga resources na to and how we can make them sustainable. So yung modern society consumes resources at very high rates. Okay, so ano yung mga factors na nagda-drive para magtumaas yung demand para sa ating mga natural resources. Okay, so we have here on the slide yung mga tinatawag natin na main drivers. So ito yung mga nagpapabilis ng consumption ng ating mga natural resources. So first on the list would be population growth. So pagdami ng tao, definitely yung demand tumataas din. So as the global population increases, mas maraming demand para sa pagkain, mas malaki ang need for water. So yung energy supply, kailangan ding taasan to meet the demand of the population growth. And then yung mga materials na kailangan ay lumalaki din yung quantity na kailangang i-produce. Okay. Second one, another main driver for um, consumption, increased consumption ng ating natural resources would be yung industrialization. So yung mga factories, they would require large amounts of raw materials and energy para makapag-produce ng mga goods na kailangan ng tao for survival. Okay, so dahil doon, isa siya sa mga main drivers ng resource use. Okay, we go to the third one. This is urbanization. So ano ba yung concept ng urbanization? So yung mga cities, um, they would require buildings, they would require yung mga magagandang daan, highways, roads, water systems, and transportation networks. So it all comes to urbanization. Mas urbanized yung isang lugar, mas higher yung demand nila for modern um, uh, modern infra, modern transportation networks. Thereby, yun yung magiging result ng pag-increase ng demand for resources. And lastly, we have the technological development. Okay, so paano ito nagiging driver for resource use? Yung mga modern technologies natin, normally they would require yung mga rare minerals. And and some processes would be requiring large amounts of energy. Kaya uh, as the technology develops, as we uh, discover new technologies, probably it would also make the demand for the natural resources increase. Okay, so itong mga drivers na to, these are the ones that causes us to to face the challenges na meron tayo ngayon about depletion. Okay, so how can we meet human needs while still protecting the environment? So paano natin mababalanse? How are we going to be able to still use the natural resources and at the same time try to parang i-budget yung paggamit natin para hindi sila agad maubos. So this question leads us to the concept of sustainability. Sustainability meaning yung mga resources natin today, um, kailangan natin silang gamitin without preventing future generations from meeting their own needs. Okay, so again, if we are going for sustainability, we are thinking of using the natural resources today, but still considering kung meron pa bang magagamit yung mga future generations natin when the time for them comes na sila naman yung mga ngailangan ng mga resources na to. Okay, so the challenge for resource use and sustainability is this one. So, meeting human needs without exhausting resources. Kasi nga, as we have discussed, yung ipinakita ng mga main drivers na to, these main drivers are the ones pushing for increased demand for the use of natural resources. So, paano natin mamimit yung needs for for the different uh, things ng tao to survive na hindi naman talaga mauubos. Hindi natin mauubos kung ano man yung meron supply ang nature for the natural resources. Okay, so let's move on to the next slide. The most essential resource for life, supporting human survival. It supports human production, industry, and ecosystem stability. Okay, so among the natural resources, itong ating water ang number one. So we need water. Yung pangangailangan natin sa tubig is very, very high. Okay, so water is often described as the most essential resource for life. So lahat tayo, lahat ng living organisms, kailangan natin ng tubig to survive. Kaya nyo bang tumagal na isang araw na hindi umiinom? Kaya nyo? Hindi. Okay, 'di ba? Parang parang manghihina ka na 'pag 'di ka na nakainom ng tubig within the day. So, kaya lang yung tubig hindi lang naman tayo mga tao yung may kailangan do'n. Hindi lang human activities ang directly nagko-consume ng water. So, may mga kahati tayo sa supply ng tubig. And there are some human activities din na, ah, kailangan na meron tayong, enough water supply for them to, you know, mag-continue at maging productive. So meron tayong agriculture, meron tayong manufacturing side, and meron din tayong energy production na nagde-demand ng malaking supply ng tubig. Dahil dito, yung water management ay nagiging isang pinaka-importante responsibility ng mga environmental engineers or those engineers that are really focusing on maintaining or managing the environment. So yung engineers who are tasked to do this one, they design water supply systems. So sila yung gumagawa ng mga wastewater treatment plants, irrigation systems, and food control infrastructure. So sila yung kailangan merong malaking or very strong understanding of the resources dahil critical yun for them to solve yung mga environmental challenges na kinakaharap nila as environmental engineers. Okay, so ang haba ng intro ko sa water. Let's go to the importance naman ng tubig. Okay, so basically, bakit natin kailangan ng tubig? Unang-una, human survival. So we cannot survive without water. So tanong ko nga sa inyo kanina, can you survive na hindi uminom ng tubig ng within the one day? So hindi naman siguro totally survive, pero ang hirap pag hindi ka nakainom ng tubig within one day. Parang hinang-hina ka na. Okay? So water is also important pagdating sa agriculture. So kailangan ng tubig para uh, hindi mamatay ang ating mga crops, ang ating mga palayan para hindi matuyot. Okay, so we are trying to manage the water supply so that the agriculture will be productive. Okay, so in terms of industry, so many manufacturing processes gumagamit ng tubig for the different parts ng kanilang processing. So for cooling, kailangan din nila ang tubig for cleaning purposes and other chemical reactions. Fourth one, energy production. So, may mga power plants tayo na gumagamit ng water for cooling systems. Okay, so kaya ang demand nila for water is also very high. And finally, ecosystems. So, yung ating ecosystems, ang water is having or water supports the ecosystems in such a big way. So yung mga rivers, yung mga lakes natin, and the wetlands and the other forms of water systems or water bodies, they provide habitats for many organisms. Kaya sinasabi natin, the water itself supports the ecosystem. So kung walang tubig, ang human systems and yung tinatawag din natin na natural ecosystems would eventually collapse. So survival would be questionable pag wala tayong supply ng tubig. Okay, so we go to the next slide. So we are going to have a look at the typical human uses for water. Okay, so ano ba yung mga sectors na gumagamit ng tubig? So gaya ng nabanggit ko na kanina, we have agriculture, using water for irrigation, industry for cooling and processing, domestic, so yung mga households, kailangan natin ng tubig for drinking, sa paliligo, sanitation purposes, and then the energy sector, we are using water for power plant cooling. Okay, so na-establish na natin kung gaano yung need for enough water supply. Okay, so based doon sa ating naging discussion, na-establish natin or nakita natin na napakalaki talaga ng pangangailangan ng ng human civilization, ng mundo, for enough water supply. Okay? Since madami gumagamit sa tubig, isang tinitingnan natin doon is enough ba yung supply ng water na pwedeng i-consume ng tao. So pag tingnan natin ang Earth from far, from the distance from the galaxy, makikita natin siya is ang malaking bilog na kulay blue. So we assume na ay ang daming tubig kasi blue. Mostly titingnan mo mostly parang puro tubig yung mavi-visualize mo na itsura ng Earth. Okay, kaya nga natin siya tinatawag na blue planet because pag tinignan natin siya from far, or yun nga, yung mga visions natin, yung visualizations ng Earth is siya ay blue because of the water. Kaya lang, in reality, yung most of the water na available sa Earth is not usable fresh water. Kasi for us humans and uh, the ecosystems, ang talagang kinakailangan natin would be supply of fresh water. And ang ang kumbaga the true fact about it is that 97% lang, or 97% ng Earth is composed of ocean. 97% of Earth's water is salt water. So it's part of the ocean. And only 3%, itong maliit na portion na to, is freshwater supply. And yung 3% na yon, even with that 3%, yung most of the water ay hindi naman readily available. Kasi it's either yung tubig na yon, yung part of the 3% is trapped doon sa mga ice glaciers, okay, doon sa ating mga nasa Antarctic. And yung iba naman, nandoon, nasa malalalim na underground supply. Kumbaga, hindi pa natatap yung supply na yon ng fresh water. So, yun yung dilemma natin. 3% na nga lang yung fresh water and we are not really able to fully utilize the 3%. Minimal amount lang ng 3% yung readily available. So, if we are going to think of it, ano ang kumbaga implication nito? So, ibig sabihin, yung amount of water na easily accessible for human use is actually very, very small. Masyadong maliit. And it may not be enough for everyone na nangangailangan ng freshwater supply. So, dahil dito, it prompts everyone concerned na magkaroon ng tamang water management para yung very small amount na yon, yung 3% na yon, at yung less than 3% na yon na available sa atin for use would be hindi mauubos agad, or it will be enough for everyone. Okay, since we are talking about fresh water, so let's have a look kung saan nanggagaling yung ating fresh water. Paano ba natin nakukuha yung supply ng fresh water? Okay, so we have two major sources ng fresh water. Actually, tatlo siya. Kung natandaan nyo yung sa previous slide, tatlo yung binanggit natin. But then yung isa doon, yung glaciers and yung ice caps, kumbaga hindi naman siya talaga natin tinitingnan as a main source or a major source of fresh water. Although, yes, they are fresh water. Pero in reality, ang ating lang sources of fresh water would be the surface waters and yung groundwater natin na tinatawag. So, when we talk about surface water, ito yung mga kilala natin na nakikitang katubigan. So, we have yung ating rivers, we have yung lakes, and yung ating mga reservoirs. So, may mga reservoirs na man-made, meron naman tayong mga natural reservoirs. Okay? Ang second one, we have yung groundwater, which is yung ating tinatawag na water na nakastore sa underground. So, meron tayong tinatawag na mga formation sa ilalim ng lupa. Ang tawag natin doon is aquifers. So, ito yung kumbaga nagiging storage area ng tubig sa ilalim ng lupa. Okay, so take note of that term. Aquifers are those formations underground kung saan nai-store yung ating tubig. Okay, so many communities, we would rely heavily on groundwater supply or groundwater wells para magkaroon ng tubig para sa ating household, sa ating agriculture, and sa ating mga industries. Okay, so groundwater supplies give us the sources for drinking water, for irrigation, and for our industrial waters. Okay, so nabanggit ko kanina si aquifer. Okay, so groundwater and aquifers, we have to take a look at kung ano ba yung meaning ng mga ito. So again, yung groundwater na tinatawag natin, ito yung tubig na nasa ilalim ng lupa. Okay, so ang kanilang storage area ay tinatawag na aquifer. And these aquifers, they are geological formation that can store and transmit water. Okay, so meron tayong dalawang klase ng aquifers. We have unconfined and confined aquifer. Actually, there are four types of aquifers, but we are going to have focus on these two na lang. These are the, kumbaga, the major types of aquifers, the usual type of aquifer. So we have unconfined aquifer and the confined aquifer. So if we are going to look at the picture, okay, ang ating unconfined aquifer is this one. Okay, so this is our unconfined aquifer. Tinawag siyang unconfined kasi uh, hin yung storage area na yan ay hindi, kumbaga, hindi siya nakukulong, hindi siya, ah, kumbaga, hindi siya sarado. What I mean by hindi sarado, so let me just delete that. Kasi if this part is parte ng lupa na kumbaga tinatawag natin na impermeable, hindi nakakasinip ang tubig. And then this part, ito yung part na kumbaga ano pa yan eh, nasa ibabaw pa ng lupa, halos topsoil pa yan. So, yung tubig kaya pang magsinip diyan. Okay? And then the unconfined aquifer is yung space between doon sa topsoil at doon sa impermeable area na to. So normally ito ay mga, for example, clay. So yan. Since yung top part na to is permeable pa, so ibig sabihin kaya pang makapag-extract ng tubig diyan ng madali lang. Hindi difficult or hindi challenging yung mag-extract ng tubig from unconfined aquifers. Okay, it will be a different case naman for your confined aquifers. Kasi ang nangyayari with the confined, as the term implies, confined, parang nakulong na siya. Nakulong siya ng dalawang impermeable formation. So, for example, ito dalawang clay rocks or clay soil, this one. So, hindi makakapag-penetrate ang tubig dito. Hindi rin makaka-penetrate further down ang tubig dito. So, nakukulong na-store lang siya within this area. So, ito yung tinatawag natin na confined aquifer. Although, kaya pa namang i-extract ang tubig from that side, there are special means or processes para makapag-tap ng tubig from the confined aquifer. So basically, in essence, difference lang ng dalawa. Unconfined aquifer is uh, hindi hindi siya nakukulong ng dalawang impermeable surfaces. Whereas yung confined, this one is area na in between ng dalawang impermeable surfaces. Okay? So ano yung relevance lang ng groundwater and aquifers? For a while lang. Okay, so humabol lang ng hininga. Okay, so ano yung kumbaga important significance ng uh, groundwater and ng aquifers? So itong understanding natin of aquifers, it helps engineers design groundwater wells. Okay, so knowledge of the aquifers, the location and the type, it helps para makapag-design ng tamang setup for the wells para sa pagtatap ng tubig. Okay, so it also is important sa water supply systems, and it also helps sa understanding kung paano nare-recharge yung water supply doon sa ilalim ng lupa. So, parang if it's an unconfined aquifer, pag unconfined, mas madaling uh, ma-recharge. Ba kung halimbawa, pag umulan, pwedeng suminip uli ang tubig pa ilalim, so mapupunan uli yung iyong unconfined aquifer. Whereas pag nandun yung water natin sa confined aquifer, maybe it would take longer, it would take years para ma-fill up uli kung ano man yung na-extract na from that area. Okay, so yun yung tinatawag natin na engineering relevance ng understanding aquifers. Okay, so do you have any questions or clarification for the aquifers? If not, we can proceed to the next slide. Okay, so this one would be discussing about water scarcity. So yung discussion natin, parang nakita natin water is very important. So kailangan dapat may supply ng tubig. Kasi nga kailangan mo siya sa araw-araw mong pamumuhay. You barely cannot live without tubig, without water supply. Kaya lang, the reality is, madami pa ring mga lugar na nakaka-experience ng water scarcity. So, bakit nangyayari yung kakulangan sa supply ng tubig? So, it happens kapag yung water demand ay mas mataas kaysa sa supply na kinakailangan. And there are several factors na nagko-contribute to our water scarcity. So, first among the factors na yon would be population growth. Okay, pagtaas ng population, so definitely tataas din yung demand sa tubig. And if hindi na nababago, hindi napupunan or hindi nag-i-increase yung supply, and then there will come a time na hindi na enough yung existing supply ng tubig sa lumalaking population. Next is climate change. Okay, so pagpabago-bago yung rainfall patterns natin, so ano ang naapektuhan? So usually yung ating mga water reservoir naapektuhan, bumababa ang level. So pag bumaba ang level, kailangan nilang magtipid sa pag-dispense ng tubig, and ano na yon, parang mag-snowball na yung effect sa mga tao. So pag hindi na nag-release ng water ang mga dams, pag hinold na nila yung tubig, wala na rin tayong supply. Okay? Next, we have over-extraction. So ito naman is concerned doon sa mga groundwater reserves. Over time, sabi nga natin, nauubos yung nakaimbak na tubig doon sa ilalim ng lupa. And if yung source natin is the confined aquifer and dumating na yung point na natap na natin halos lahat ng nandoon sa ilalim, then it means wala na tayong makukuhang supply for that particular location. Specifically if it's a confined aquifer kasi matagal bago mag-recharge ang isang confined aquifer. Mas maganda sana kung unconfined aquifer yung napagkuhanan ng water supply. Kasi it can easily be regenerated. Pag umulan ng malakas, then kayang masinip ng lupa yung tubig and it would be converted to groundwater eventually. Okay, so we also have pollution. This one, pollution is also a factor for water scarcity kasi ano sa tingin nyo? Bakit? Sige nga, why would pollution be a factor for depleted water supply? Bakit siya under ng factors causing water scarcity? Anyone? Okay, sige, try natin nga fill in the blanks. Parang favorite ko na ngayon ang fill in the blanks. Pollution reduces water blank. So, ano yung term na yon? Ang pollution ay isang factor ng water scarcity because pollution reduces water blank. Ano yung sagot doon? Anyone? Wala mong sasagot. Ang sad naman. Wala pala nakikinig sa akin. Sige na, bigyan niyo naman ako ng sagot. Para naman to compensate for sa aking mauubos na boses. Can I have one answer, please? Starts with letter Q. O, bibigyan ko na kayo ng hint. Starts with letter Q, ends in Y.
Ma'am, pwede ka pong paulit nung tag.
Okay, so fill in the blanks. Sabi natin, pollution is a factor causing water scarcity. So bakit siya nagiging factor? Ang ating statement is pollution reduces water blank. Okay, John.
Water quality po ba, ma'am?
Yes. Okay, so may tama ka na sa fill in the blank. Water quality. Okay, 2 points. 2 points for John. Okay, so yun, kaya siya nagiging factor for water depletion, kaya nauubos ang hin- ah, hindi natin magamit yung tubig because of pollution kasi napapababa niya ang water quality. So even if meron tayong malaking river, let's say Laguna Lake, napakalaking body of water. Kaya lang hindi mo naman siya magamit na pang-inom, panglaba, panlinis kasi very polluted. Okay? So these are the factors that contribute to water scarcity. Okay? And we also have to highlight na meron dalawang klase ng scarcity na tinatawag. Okay, so we have the physical and the economic scarcity. Yung tinatawag nating physical scarcity, it happens kapag yung water resources are naturally limited. And then yung economic scarcity naman, it occurs when water exists, but, okay, there's a big but infrastructure is lacking to deliver it. Paano kaya yun? Paano kaya explanation yan? Who can help me na explain sa class ano ang meaning ng physical scarcity? So, physical scarcity daw, it says that water resources are naturally limited. Okay, so ano yung basic concept na behind physical scarcity? Yay! Okay, meron na uling isa si Benj. Thank you, Benj. O, ano sagot mo?
Ma'am, meaning ka po ng physical scarcity po.
As in your own understanding. So, ano yung dating sa'yo ng physical scarcity? Oh, nasa na si Benj? Oh, balikan natin si Benj. Okay, sige, go.
Yung para sa akin po, ma'am, physical scarcity po yung ano ba, parang nag-occurs po dun sa demand po ng population na ano po, na dun po makikita yung availability po ng water resources po sa isang region.
Okay, sige. Pakinggan natin ang opinion ni Michael. Thank you, Benj.
Ma'am, dun po sa ano po, sa physical scarcity po, ma'am, parang ito po yung limitadong supply po ng isa pong pinagkukunan pong gamit or ng ano po, limited lang po siya. Finite po yung ability niya po sa mga natural resources po. Whereas po yung economic scarcity naman po siya, unlimited naman po siya. Kumbaga po, magkabaliktad lang po ano lang po sila.
Ano, na-lost ka na. Ba't ka ba't ka laughing emoji?
Na-mental block po ako dun sa huli kong sasabihin.
Gusto ka daw i-rebut ni John.
Yung physical scarcity po para sa akin, ma'am, yun po yung needs po ng isang specific region or community ay mas mataas po kaysa sa kayang ibigay po ng natural resources po. Kuwari po,
Alright,
water po,
okay.
ganun.
Good. Then, economic? Ano yung self-explanation mo dito or self-understanding mo sa economic scarcity?
Tapos ang economic naman po siguro ay yung parang ganun din po kaso ano naman po siya sa kunwari po sa land, labor and capital time po. Tungkol po siya sa economics. Mas mataas din po yung demand sa economics compared po sa kaya pong ibigay ng ano, sa isa pong region.
Alright, so medyo naging complex na yung meaning ng economic scarcity. Can I hear from the girls? Mas magagaling ba ang mga EE na lalaki kaysa mga EE na babae? I haven't heard from the girls. Oh, yun. Kay, sige nga. Tablahin mo yung sagot ni John regarding economic scarcity.
Yung about naman po sa economic scarcity po, ito naman po is yung kapag po nangyayari po ito kapag po kapag po may sapat na tubig tapos po kulang po kulang po sila sa pera or ano?
Infrastructure.
Infrastructure. O
Infra na
pamamahala
lang
po.
para madali.
Kaya po, ano nga po? Nawala pa ako. Kaya po hindi ito maayos na naipamamahagi po sa mga tao.
Okay, good point. Okay, Diana Rose. So, pakinggan natin yun namang opinion ni Diana.
Para po sa akin yung physical scarcity po is yung resources po na hindi po siya enough para po sa nature at saka sa mga tao, while yung economic scarcity naman po is available po yung resources pero difficult to access po.
Okay, so if we are going to add on to sa mga naging sagot nyo regarding physical scarcity, I think it's clear na amongst most of you. Economic scarcity, siguro ito lang yung pwede nating i-visualize when it comes to economic scarcity. Ang issue kasi dito is meron kang known supply of water. Kaya lang, hindi kaya i-provide ang infrastructure para matap or makuha yung supply na yon ng tubig. Probably, it will be very costly to be able to extract the water from, sabihin na natin na ang scenario is masyadong malalim sa ilalim ng lupa ang supply ng tubig. Hindi kaya. Okay? So, yun. The cost becomes the issue pagdating sa economic scarcity. Kumbaga, it is there, alam na mayroong supply, kaya lang when it comes to balancing the cost and the need, mas malaki kasi yung implication ng cost. So, nagiging cost siya ng water scarcity kahit na mayroong known supply ng fresh water within that area. Okay, so I think enough na discussion for that water scarcity. We can move to the next one. This is just a brief look into the water pollution kasi we would be having a separate topic for water pollution. Okay, so when we speak of water pollution, this occurrence happens kapag merong harmful substances na pumapasok, sumasama dun sa ating mga water bodies. Okay, so ang common sources natin ng water pollution, yung ating mga water pollutants usually would be coming from some major sources. Okay, so among these major sources would be yung unang-una industrial wastewater. So yung mga factories natin, number one source ng water pollutants. Okay, so they claim na they are treating their wastewater. However, there are some na dumidiskarte, hindi naman nagre-release ng, they are releasing their treated water, which is not within the acceptable limits. Okay, so madaming mga cases ng water pollution na traceable to industries and other manufacturing areas and factories. Okay, second one would be your agricultural runoff. Okay, so pag halimbawa ay yung mga let's say nagtanim, tingnan natin ang may palayan ka and then it's malapit siya sa isang body of water, maybe sa batis or sa ilog. Okay, so nagtatanim ka ng palay, or other crops, and you would be using fertilizers. Okay, so syempre pag naggamit ka ng fertilizer, inihahasik-hasik mo lang yan, and some of that fertilizers will be used up by the plants, but there would be a certain volume of that fertilizer na makakarating doon sa tubig na malapit doon sa palayan na yon. Okay, so yung mga fertilizer components na yon ang magiging source of pollution doon sa mga bodies of water na malapit sa area na yon. Okay, we also have domestic sewage, okay, yung mga pinagamitan na tubig ng ating mga households. So makikita natin yan sa mga squatter areas na walang proper drainage, okay? Yung mga kubeta nila nakakabit na lang sa dagat, sa ilog. Okay, so that would constitute your domestic sewage. And then we have mining operations kasi malaking volume ng tubig din ang ginagamit for mining, and then mostly dahil sa mga mining operations kapag umulan, yung mga pinasabugan nila na area ng bundok, then it will eventually come down, pababa, going to the bodies of water. So may mga mineral content yan na kasama pag na-anod ng tubig yung lupa na yon, and it will eventually be deposited to the bodies of water, becoming water pollution, water pollutants. Okay. So itong mga pollutants na to, they can damage ecosystems and threaten human health. Okay. Ang isang example niyan would be what else? Okay, so hindi naman sa not on the human health aspect, but have you yung ating Kalumpang River, okay? So pag dumadami yung algae growth sa ating Kalumpang River, ang nangyayari diyan is nagkakaroon ng reduced oxygen supply doon sa tubig. So nagkakamatayan yung mga living organisms na nakatira doon sa ilog, and ang end result, nagiging polluted yung tubig kasi una, namamatay yung mga isda, namamatay yung ibang halaman kasi limited na yung oxygen supply, and masyadong mataas or madami yung microorganisms na naninirahan doon. So it becomes a source of pollution as well. So as environmental engineers, yung designing ng systems that can treat wastewater and can prevent pollution would be one of the key responsibilities. So, tinitingnan natin ano ba yung nagiging impact ng reduced water quality. Ano yung impact ng damage sa ecosystem ng water pollution and the public health risks. And these are the ones na hinahanapan ng solusyon ng mga engineers, particularly environmental engineers. Okay, so moving on to our next slide. Okay, so we are considering engineering solutions for water management. Okay, so sabi nga natin, engineers, they help manage water resources. Okay, and this can be done in several ways. Okay, so may typo error pa ako dito. So paano nagko-contribute ang mga engineers sa water management? Okay, so they design wastewater treatment systems. Okay, so they also conduct wastewater treatment. And they have desalination technologies. So, ano yung ginagawa dito? They convert seawater into fresh water. Kasi, di ba, kailangan natin for human consumption is fresh water. And because of the limited supply, there are ways to actually convert yung seawater into a form na consumable on our part. Okay. We also have water recycling. Okay, so engineers contribute to the recycling of water. So they design water recycling systems that could allow water to be reused. So dahil sa mga ginagawa or na-invento or pinaprocess ng mga methodologies ng mga engineers, so nagiging posible na magamit uli yung tubig na nagamit na during the process, or yung tubig na madumi na papalinis natin so that it would be safe to use for specific purposes. And lastly, engineers also contribute through efficient irrigation systems. Okay, so ang irrigation system, it becomes efficient kapag nare-reduce na yung water waste sa agriculture. Okay, so yun yung tinitingnan din, isang aspect na titingnan ng mga environmental engineers. So ang goal talaga for water management is to make the supply sustainable. Okay, so kailangan we have to use water efficiently habang pinoprotektahan natin yung ecosystem. So ito yung tinatawag natin na sustainable water management. Okay, so that would be all for the water resources. We will be taking muna a 5-minute break before we proceed with the next one, which is your soil resources. Okay, so 5-minute break muna tayo.
failed. You 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 failed.
Okay, so we're back. Curious lang ako, just want to check. Naririnig niyo ba yung background ko? Nababother ako sa ingay. Hindi naman. Oh, good. So, Akala ko kasi dinig na dinig niyo yung mga pagtilaok ng manok ng kapitbahay namin. Anyways, buti naman. So, gumagana naman pala 'tong noise cancellation ko. Okay, so let's proceed doon sa ating next topic. Okay, so we are going to talk about, okay, wait lang, nasaan na yung aking slide. So our next topic would be soil resources. So this is another major natural resource na available sa ating lahat. Pwedeng ipamana, pwedeng bilihin. Okay? So, soil may look simple kasi nakikita lang natin siya sa kapaligiran natin. But in reality, if we look at it, soil is an incredibly complex and important natural system. So, tinatawag natin na living resource ang lupa. Living resource kasi it supports life by nawala tuloy yung word sa ano ko. It supports life by allowing plants to grow. So, tumutulong din ang lupa para makapag-store ng water and sa pag-recycle ng mga nutrients na kailangan ng mga organisms in order to survive. So, if i-connect natin lahat, halos lahat ng food products na kino-consume natin comes from the plants that grow galing sa lupa. Okay, so either directly or indirectly, they can be traced doon sa soil. So even animals that humans eat is also dependent sa mga halaman na tumutubo sa ating mga soil. Okay? So this means, ang gusto ko lang i-emphasize doon sa statement na yon is that yung soil plays a fundamental role sa global food production. Okay, napaka-importante ng role ng soil sa food production. And bukod doon, okay, let me just see my next slide. So na-preempt ko tuloy. Okay, so yung soil, it acts as a natural filter as well. And kapag yung rainwater ay umulan, bumagsak na sa lupa, yung tubig na yon, nakakatulong ang lupa para ma-filter din yung tubig na yon. Okay, so the soil serves as a filtering medium doon sa rainwater para ma-remove yung ibang mga impurities before yung tubig na yon ay makadiretso sa mga underwater or groundwater reservoir. So yung mga pinagdadaanan ng tubig bago makarating sa ilalim sa kanyang final destination sa aquifers. So yung lupa ay tumutulong para maging filtering medium. So in addition, yung mga lupa din natin is, kumbaga, it serves as the breeding ground for billions of microorganisms. So yung mga bacteria, yung fungi, yung insects also is very dependent on the soil. So dahil sa mga functions na to, nag-iiba yung outlook natin doon sa lupa. Hindi lang siya something na pag naapakan natin magdudumi yung paa. So it's not as shallow as that. So we have to look at soil as a dynamic ecosystem na napakalaki ng suporta para mabuhay ang mga naninirahan kay Mother Earth. Okay, so given that, we have to look at the importance of soil. Okay, so soil is essential for the following reasons. So ang una would be agriculture. Okay, so kailangan ng mga crops yung nutrients na galing sa lupa para sila ay mabuhay. So without fertile soil, kung hindi mataba yung lupa, so magkakaproblema or magkaka-issue yung mga farmers with the food production kasi mahihirapan silang magpatubo ng mga halaman. Okay, second one, soil supports plant growth. So yung mga halaman, both the natural ecosystem at saka yung mga agricultural systems. So without the land, without the soil, hindi possible ang plant growth. So it's a very, very important aspect of um, plant growth. Third one, we have ecosystem stability. So yung mga forests, yung the ecosystem itself. So we have forests, we have grasslands, we have wetlands, and other forms of ecosystem. Nakadepende lahat on soil to support plant communities. In terms of water filtration naman, sabi nga natin kanina, kung paano ko dinescribe yung lupa bilang filtering medium ng rainwater. So yun ang nagiging function niya. Nililinis niya yung tubig hanggang sa makarating ang tubig doon sa kanyang aquifer. Okay? And the last one, nutrient cycling. So nutrients such as nitrogen, phosphorus, and carbon, they move through the soil ecosystems. And then yung movement nila na yon, nakaka-support naman yon sa plant growth. So that's how soil becomes a part of the nutrient cycling. So kung wala ang soil, what would happen is yung food production cycle ay magko-collapse na. Tanggalin mo yung soil, wala na ang food production. And tanggalin mo rin ang soil, ang ecosystem would be magdi-decline na rin. Hindi na rin magpa-function normally. Malaki ang mawawala pag hindi na available ang soil as a natural resources. Okay? So, inuna natin ang importance bago natin i-define ang soil. Okay, so parang tinignan muna natin ang kahalagahan niya bago natin siya kinilala. Okay, so what exactly is soil made of? So ang soil is a mixture of several compounds. Okay, meron tayong tinatawag na mineral particles. So soil is a mixture of mineral particles. So saan nanggagaling itong mineral particles na ito? From weathered rocks. So yung mga bato-bato na nadurog, naging pino, eventually naging soil. Okay, so that's the weather. Yun yung tinatawag natin na weathering of rocks. And yung mineral particles na yun, they become part of the soil. Second component would be organic matter. Okay, so saan nagagaling ang organic matter? Yung mga the plants and the animals na nag-decompose, so they become organic matter and they become part of the soil mixture. Third one would be water. So water is considered part of the soil component kasi sila yung nag-fill up ng mga spaces between the soil particles. Okay, so may tubig na present in between the particles of soil. Fourth one is air. So hindi mawawala ang air. So kagaya ng tubig, nandun din siya sa mga in-between spaces ng soil particles. So the air provides the oxygen for plant roots and soil organisms. So kaya ang mga halaman ay nabubuhay, yung mga ugat niya kumukuha ng tubig at hangin sa lupa. Okay, so ito yung mga earthworms natin nabubuhay din kahit nandun sila sa loob ng lupa because there is air supply na pwede nilang makuha din from the soil and well, minimal water supply as well. Living organisms. Okay, so soil contains living organisms. So ano yung mga living organisms na makikita sa soil? So invisible to the eye would be your microorganisms. May mga insekto na naninirahan sa lupa and the earthworms. Okay, so bida-bida ang mga bulate. So these components, yung mga components na yan, they interact with each other and they compose yung tinatawag natin na living system. Kaya pag mataba ang lupa, it could definitely support plant growth, microbial activity, and nutrient cycling. So madaming mga ganap doon sa soil kapag healthy yung soil. Okay, so this is the Kumbaga, this is how we are going to look at soil, kung gaano ka-importante yung concept niya, how important soil as a natural resource in the concept ng environmental science and sa agriculture na rin. Okay, so we go to the next slide, soil formation. So, paano nabubuo ang soil? So, kanina nabanggit natin the mineral particles na galing sa weathering of rocks, they form part of the soil. So, may mga major processes na nangyayari which eventually lead to your soil formation. So, ang una doon would be physical weathering. So, from the main word physical, so yung mga bato, the rocks, they break into smaller pieces due to several factors. So, ano yung mga factors yun? Temperature changes, probably dahil ng wind or water. Okay, so yung bato ay nagiging fine particles, nagwe-weather, and then eventually becomes part of the soil. Second one, chemical weathering. So, chemical reactions naman, they alter the composition of rocks. Okay, so pag na-alter na yung composition of rocks, pwedeng maka-experience din ng weathering due to chemical factors and eventually mag-form ng soil. Third one would be biological activity. So, this one pertains to the contribution naman ng plants, roots, microorganisms to the breakdown of rock materials. So, halimbawa sa mga bundok, kahit matitigas yung part na yon ng bundok, but pag nag-penetrate na yung mga ugat-ugat ng mga halaman, yung mga microorganisms na nanirahan doon, napalambot niya na rin yung matitigas na part ng bundok. So, eventually, yung mga rock materials na doon nagiging soil na rin. Okay, so several factors would be known to influence yung soil formation. So, we would be looking at climate. Okay, so malaki ang effect ng climate sa soil formation. Parent material, so topography is also a factor. Biological activity, and of course, time. So, malaking factor ang time sa formation ng soil. Hindi agad, some soil formation would take longer period, maybe hundreds of years to complete. One important point to emphasize is that yung soil formation is extremely low. O sabi nga dito, sabi ko lang pala hundreds, pero some would take thousands of years, okay, para maka-form ng good soil. Yung tinatawag natin na fertile soil. Kaya this one is the reason bakit kailangan din na i-manage properly ang soil as a natural resource. Okay, so kagaya ng tubig, kapag nawala ang soil, malaki ang mawawala sa atin. So it needs to be protected. Okay, so we are going to move forward to the soil horizons. Okay, so we'll just have another look on kung paano ba yung structure ng soil. Okay, so may tinatawag na horizons ang lupa. So ito yung mga layers na nade-develop sa formation ng soil. So meron tayong 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 layers ng lupa. Okay, so the first layer would be the O horizon, which is composed of your organic matter. So ang ating O horizon would be the top one. Okay, ito yung tinatawag natin na O horizon. So humus soil. Okay, next layer, we have the A horizon. So from this part to this part, ito yung tinatawag natin na A horizon. At common term pala sa kanya is topsoil. So medyo may misconception pala. Akala ko ang topsoil ay yung nasa taas talaga. Okay, so topsoil pala ay nasa ilalim ni humus soil. Okay, so A horizon is the topsoil. So next layer, going deep into the soil layers, we have your B horizon. So itong part na to is your B horizon. So kung titingnan natin sa soil horizon, sa layer ng soil, pinakamalaki, pinakamakapal ang B horizon. And ang organic matter or yung tawag natin doon sa layer na yon would be the subsoil. Okay. After the subsoil, okay, so we are looking at the sea horizon. Ang composition naman ng sea horizon would be yung mga weathered rocks. So itong part na to, since these are weathered rocks, mas matigas na kumpara doon sa parts na to. Okay? So weathered rocks na ang ating sea horizon. And then the last layer for the soil would be the R horizon. Ito na pinakailalim. Ito yung tinatawag na bedrock. So ito na yung sa itsura pa lang parang ang tigas-tigas na. Okay? So, just to highlight, so yung topsoil na tinatawag natin is the most fertile layer ng ating soil. So dito. So yung ating mga halaman dito kumukuha ng mga nutrients at ng ng mga nutrients para mabuhay. Okay? So much for that for the soil horizons. We have a look at the soil degradation. So, kailan nangyayari ang soil degradation? So, when soil quality declines, pag mababa na ang quality ng soil dahil sa human activities or environmental processes, so ito na yung tinatawag natin na soil degradation. So, may mga factors na nagko-contribute para bumaba yung quality ng ating lupa. Okay, so ano yung major threats na nagre-result to soil degradation? So, una, soil erosion. So, pag nagkakaroon ng soil erosion, natatabunan ang ating humus at topsoil. Okay, so it lessens the, kumbaga yung usability ng lupa pag nagkakaroon ng soil erosion. Another cause would be yung tinatawag natin na overgrazing. So, kailan nangyayari ang overgrazing? Kapag yung livestock ay nako-consume ng mas mabilis, they consume faster yung vegetation na nandoon sa lupa na yun. So, di ba, may bakahan ka, and then dun mo sila pinapastol sa isang area na madamo, and then eventually ay na-consume na nila, naubos na nila yung mga damo doon, naging wala nang damong nabuhay. So yung lupa na yon ay magiging ganito na rin ang itsura, mabibitak-bitak because may expose na sila sa araw. So it contributes to the soil degradation. Okay, next is deforestation. It also contributes to soil degradation because tree roots, they help stabilize the soil. So pag nagkaroon ng deforestation, nawawala yung nagho-hold sa lupa. Okay? So pag umulan ng malakas, nagkakaroon ng soil erosion. So that's why it's considered a major threat and it results to soil degradation. Okay, next one, poor farming practices. So ano ang kasama dito? Excessive tillage or improper irrigation. Nakaka-damage yun ng soil structure. So pag laging binubungkal ang lupa, okay, pag madalas bungkalin ng lupa, nagagalaw ang soil layer, ang horizons, then it can contribute to soil degradation. Urban development. So urban development, ano ang nangyayari? So when we are thinking of urban development, parang pag-urbanize ang city, so mas madami tayong makikita mga sementadong part. Okay? So urbanization can cover soil with concrete and asphalt. And what happens is napiprevent yung natural soil processes from occurring. So pag sementado na ang ibabaw, hindi na makapag-penetrate ang water. And yung lupa, wala na pagkukuhanan ng water regeneration. Okay, so wala nang magsisinip na tubig sa kanya. And hindi na ma-maintain yung normal process for the soil to be maintained na healthy and fertile. Alright, so result of the soil degradation is Ay, spelling error na naman. So, loss of soil fertility. Okay, so pag bumaba na yung quality ng soil, hindi na siya magiging fertile, hindi na siya good for food production. All right. Okay, going on to our next slide, we are going to have a look at soil erosion. Hindi ko napalitan ng picture. Kaya pala sad B. Okay. So soil erosion occurs when soil is removed by water, wind, and human activities. So pag mula ng malakas at walang mga puno, nagkakaroon ng soil erosion. Same with pag malakas ang hangin. So it can also contribute to soil erosion. And definitely human activities, malaki ang impact sa ating soil erosion. So ang common causes ng ating soil erosion, we can attribute it to deforestation. Pag tinatanggal na ang mga puno, wala nang mag-hold in place sa lupa. Improper agricultural practices. So pag ano ba ang example ng improper agricultural practices? Yung mga sa bundok, halimbawa, parang ano ba tawag doon? Hindi ko ma-recall yung Tagalog. Plowing along slopes. Okay, pag sa slope ng bundok, tapos parang tinibag-tibag mo siya para pagtaniman, it can contribute to erosion kasi nagagalaw yung structure ng lupa doon. So, pag umulan, lumindol, humangin, it can contribute to increased erosion. Okay, another one would be construction. So construction activities can expose soil, okay, and make it more vulnerable to erosion. So ang soil pala pag nagagalaw ang kanyang mga layers, ang kanyang horizons, so nagko-contribute siya sa kanyang degradation. All right? So next slide. Anong oras na? Kaya ba nating matapos ito? Impacts of soil erosion. So may mga consequences ang soil erosion. Okay. Reduced agricultural productivity. Okay. So dahil sa soil erosion, nasisira ang crops. Okay. So it then reflects to decreased productivity. Sedimentation of rivers. So pag nagkaroon ng soil erosion, ang lupa galing bundok, bumaba, ang diretso sa ilog. So yung ilog natin matatabunan, magiging mababaw. Okay, maiapektuhan ang ecosystem na nandoon sa ilog. Increased flooding. Okay. So pag may soil erosion, it also tends to have it cause increased flooding. Then ecosystem damage. So eventually, in the long run, nagkakaroon na ng ecosystem damage especially pag frequent ang soil erosion. Okay, so ang example chain ng impact ng soil erosion, halimbawa nagkaroon ng land clearing kasi magpapagawa, for example, ng subdivision. So yung isang area na madaming lupa or madaming puno sa isang bundok, ni-clear nila. Okay? So it would lead to soil erosion. Pag inulan ng malakas, binagyo, magkakaroon ng soil erosion. And ang soil erosion, it would cause sediment runoff. Okay, so pag yung tubig galing bundok, bumaba kasama ang lupa. And yung itong runoff na to, pupunta sa ilog, it will result to river pollution. So yun yung chain na tinatawag. Dugsong, kumbaga kabit-kabit yung result ng effect yung isang ginawa mo would snowball to another cause and effect. Okay? Hanggang sa it would lead to the pollution. Okay? So what do we need to do para ma-conserve ang ating soil? Okay, so nakita natin yung importance ng soil and conservation practices ay kailangan to protect it. So meron tayong mga techniques na pwedeng gawin to do conservation of soil. So one would be contour farming. So paano gagawin ng contour farming? Yung crops na itinatanim along the natural contours of the land. Okay? So pag may itanim tayong mga crops doon, may mga ugat sila, so pwede silang makatulong para ma-hold yung lupa. Okay? Another one would be terracing. So ito yung this one. Ito yung pag-create ng step-like structures on slopes to slow water flow. Okay, so sa halip na kung wala itong mga terraces na to, let's say ito lang part na to, umulan, so yung tubig mo dire-diretso lang. Pero pag may terraces, so nabe-breakdown ng konti yung pagdagusdos ng tubig. Okay, so it would tend to lessen erosion. Crop rotation. So it involves alternating crops in a field to maintain soil nutrients. So ginagawa ito ng mga farmers kasi nagtanim ka ng palay, so may makakain na nutrients yung palay. So the next season, iba naman yung itatanim. I'm not sure whether it's the correct one, pero siguro yung mga root crops naman yung itatanim para maiibalik yung nutrients doon sa lupa so that the next season pwede na uli magtanim ng palay. So something like that for crop rotation. Cover crops, they protect soil from erosion during periods when the main crop is not growing. So ito din is technique ng mga farmers. Nagtatanim sila ng dalawang klase ng halaman. So habang iniintay nilang lumaki yung main crop nila, may nakatanim sila na parang magpo-protect doon sa halaman na yon. So it's still using vegetation to prevent soil erosion. And then lastly, reforestation. So it would help stabilize soil and restore natural ecosystems. So kailangan talaga ang mga puno para ma-prevent ang soil erosion. Okay, so the goal of soil conservation is to protect soil productivity. And we are doing this for the future generations. Okay, so again, highlighting on the goal, protect soil productivity for future generations. Okay, so that would be it for soil. Okay, I still have 20 minutes. Mineral resources. Okay, so this is another natural resource na kailangang tingnan, protektahan, kasi pag naubos, matagal bago ma-replenish din. Okay? So what are mineral resources? So they are the naturally occurring inorganic substances found in the earth. So inorganic, so they don't contain carbon. And examples nito would be your iron, your copper, aluminum, gold, and phosphates. Ito yung mga substances na parang gustong-gusto ng mga ibang bansa. Gusto ng China, gusto hinahabol ng US. Okay, so they serve as raw materials for industry. Kaya siya in demand, kaya siya mahal. Okay? So importance of minerals. Minerals are used in construction. So materials kagaya ng what can we give example? Steel and cement. Okay, so they are used for buildings and sa mga infrastructure. Okay, electronics. So itong picture na to would be for your electronics. So metals such as copper and rare earth metals are used in circuits and batteries. Okay, so ito isang halimbawa. So for your smartphone, ito yung mga nagagamit na minerals just to create the display for your smartphone. So ang dami, 'di ba? Okay, transportation. Metals are used in vehicles. Okay, in aircrafts, in ships. Okay, so they are the raw materials for building our vehicles. So they are part of transportation industry. Okay, manufacturing, minerals serve as raw materials for producing goods. And ang pwede nating i-cite na example would be yun nga, yung steel. Okay, so yung steel, it is processed using iron ore, which is yung natural resource natin plus energy. So yung energy, it could possibly be also a natural resource depending on what type they're using for the processing of steel. Okay, so ito yung ating isang example ng importance of minerals. Types of minerals, so we have two, metallic and the non-metallic. So from the name itself, metallic, we have these metals. So iron, copper, aluminum, and nickel. And then we have the non-metallic ones. We have sand, we have limestone, phosphate, and then of course yung ating clay. Okay, so para makuha itong mga mineral resources na to, we tend to do, we go for mining. So mining ang ginagamit. This is the process of extracting minerals from the earth. Okay, so there are major methods of mining. First would be your surface mining. So yung ating minerals ay ina-extract from deposits near the surface. So ang keyword dyan would be near the surface. Ganda magsulat. Okay, so near the surface. Second one is underground mining. So ang scenario naman when it comes to underground mining is meron ng mga tunnels. So there are tunnels na hinukay deep underground para ma-extract yung mga mineral deposits. Okay, so underground mining is yung pagtatap ng mga underground deposits. Okay, and then the last one, the third method is the placer mining, which extracts minerals from sediments in rivers or streams. Okay, so each of this mining method ay may iba't ibang economic benefits and of course environmental impact. So kumbaga mas malaki ang environmental impact ng minings na to kaysa sa I think economic benefits in the long run. Okay. So moving forward, going to the next slide, environmental impacts of mining. Okay, let me just add in is paano marireduce yung impact na to, yung disadvantages ng mining na nakita natin doon sa video. Okay, so bilisan ko na lang. Sustainable mineral use. Okay, so paano tayo mag-a-adapt ng sustainable mineral use? So may mga strategies recommended for us to be able to protect our mineral resources. So one would be recycling metals. So para hindi naman nasasayang yung ating mga minerals, para hindi tayo produce ng bago, we can recycle metals. Okay, we can improve mining efficiency. So i-lessen yung mga waste from the mines. Okay, we can use also alternative materials and then reducing, this is consumption, sorry. This is reducing consumption. Okay, so an example of a sustainable mineral use would be aluminum recycling. So nakakasave ng 95% ng energy compared to producing new aluminum. Okay, so ganun kalaki yung impact ng recycling to some of the production processes ng ating minerals. Okay. So we now go to the last resource. Okay, so energy. Energy resources are natural resources that provide the power needed to fuel human activities, industries, and modern life. Okay, so ano yung importance ng energy? So, energy gives power. Okay, so sino ang nakikinabang sa power na to coming from energy resources? Industries. So, transpo, homes, communication, and infra. So, ito yung mga nakikinabang with the energy resources natin. So, kung walang energy, yung ating society would just stop. Walang kuryente, walang communication, walang internet. So parang biglang tumigil yung mundo without the energy. So ganun ka-importante ang energy resources natin. Okay, so there are two types of energy resources, the non-renewable and the renewable energy. So under non-renewable, we have the coal, oil, natural gas, and the nuclear. Okay, and under the renewable energy, so ito yung mga nare-regenerate. Okay, so we have the solar, wind, hydropower, biomass, and the geothermal energy. Okay, so we have a look at the fossil fuels kasi ito yung isa sa mga non-renewable source of energy na very important. So fossil fuels form from ancient organic matter over millions of years. Okay, so non-renewable siya kasi uh, in essence, pwede siyang ma-regenerate. Kaya lang napakatagal. Not within the human lifetime. Hindi nga hundreds of years eh. Millions of years bago mabuo ang supply ng, for example, ng coal, ng petroleum, and ng natural gas. Okay, so kaya siya na-considered na non-renewable kasi napakatagal bago mapunan uli kung ano man yung na-extract na. So, ang advantages of using fossil fuels is yung high energy density nila and then reliable supply. However, they pose disadvantages as well kasi fossil fuels, they actually contribute much to pollution at sa ating mga greenhouse emissions. Okay, environmental impacts of fossil fuels. So pag nagbe-burn tayo ng fossil fuels, sabi nga natin, it contributes to greenhouse emissions. Okay, so nagre-release ito ng carbon dioxide, sulfur dioxide, nitrogen oxides, and particulate matter. So these are all contributors to air pollution. Okay, effects, climate change, sabi nga natin, air pollution, and acid rain, especially if it's concerning the sulfur dioxide. So, ganun ang impact ng paggamit ng fossil fuels. Although they are efficient, kaya lang malaki naman ang kanilang effect or damage sa ating environment. Okay, so when it comes to renewable energy, kumbaga, mas maganda yung option natin when it comes to this type of energy resource. So si renewable energy, they are naturally replenished and they can provide energy na kumbaga hindi tayo mag-worry na magdi-deplete yung sources. Okay? So ang example ng ating renewable energy would be solar, hydropower, biomass. Okay, so from the picture, we have other forms also like the wind, geothermal, tidal energy. So these are all renewable energy sources. Benefits, lower emissions. Okay, so they contribute less to pollution, and they have a sustainable supply. Okay. So we are looking at this term energy transition. So kumbaga ito na yung trend nowadays. The world or many countries, they are undergoing what is called yung ating energy transition. So this refers to the shift from using traditional fossil fuel energy systems towards the cleaner and more sustainable energy sources. So ang energy transition natin na tinatawag is from the non-renewable to the renewable energy technologies. Okay, so there are several stages na kumbaga kailangan para magkaroon tayo ng energy transition. So first would be increasing the use of renewable energy technology. So kailangan maging aware tayo ano ba yung mga possible na available renewable energy technology sa atin na kumbaga affordable din na ating gamitin. Second would be to improve energy efficiency para mas ma-lessen yung magiging wastage natin sa energy. And then third is to develop new technologies such as, for example, energy storage systems and smart power grids. So ito yung mga role na kailangan ng mga engineers. Okay? So importante ang magiging the engineers play a vital role in energy transition kasi from planning to designing kailangan ang skills ng mga engineers. Okay. Next slide is about resource sustainability. So now that we have discussed yung water, yung soil, minerals, and energy, titingnan naman natin sila at a bigger picture. So itong mga resources na to, if you would notice, ay interconnected. So ni kailangan ni water, si soil, okay, para maprotektahan ng isa't isa. All these four, they are interconnected. Meron silang specific na pangangailangan sa isa't isa. And all of them are essential for sustaining human civilization. Kaya lang nga, ang ating concern is, ang resources ay limited. Okay, so they might be depleted. Kaya if ang paggamit natin sa kanila is done irresponsibly, hindi na ma-manage ng ayos, it's either ma-degrade or ma-deplete. So, yun lang yung dalawang patutunguhan niya. So, the concept of resource sustainability is very important. Pag sinabi natin resource sustainability, this one would refer to managing the natural resources. This would be in such a way na pwede pa natin silang gamitin. Currently, magagamit natin sila, but hindi natin mauubos or kumbaga pwede natin silang gamitin in such amount na may matitira pa para sa mga future generations natin. Okay? Meron pa silang magagamit pagdating ng time nila. Okay, so resource sustainability, for it to be efficient, it requires a balancing. Kailangan well-balanced ang human needs at saka yung environmental protection. So, dalawang aspect lagi ang titingnan when it comes to resource sustainability. Human needs and environmental protection. Okay, so sustainable resource management. So, sustainable use, ibig sabihin lang, we are using the resources today without compromising future generations. So, kailangan hindi natin maubos para may magamit pa ang mga anak natin. And of course, the role of engineers. So, engineering decisions affect the environment a lot. Kaya, ang pagiging skilled na isang engineer in designing, developing, improving, and protecting the ecosystems is very, very vital. Okay. Wrong decision ng isang engineer could give a very disastrous effect sa environment. Kung magkamali man lang siya ng design or decision. Okay, so big picture, resources and civilization. So all major systems depend on the natural resources. Okay, so from the food until the fuels. Okay, so interconnected sila. And yung resource management natin, now, the current resource management would determine yung future ng ating society. So ito yung kumbaga, it will help us give assurance na kaya pang mag-survive ng society if mamamanage natin ang natural resources at this point. Okay, so we have, skip ko na lang tong reflection questions. I will just share the slide with you. So if you're going to read it, then you can just reflect on those questions. Okay, so key takeaways, ang key points lang natin. The natural resources, they support human civilization. They are limited. So ito ang main reason kung bakit kailangan natin silang i-manage properly. So sustainability, to protect the environment. So as future engineers, you would be playing a critical role sa sustainable solutions. All right? So that would conclude our topic for natural resources. So ang closing message lang for this one. So as future engineers, okay, as future electrical engineers who will be working in power plants, okay, your decision, okay, just take note of this, your decision will influence environmental protection, resource sustainability, and the well-being of future generations. So in your every decision, think of the future generation. Think of protecting the environment para meron pa rin tayong supply ng natural resources. Okay? So, okay, I made it to 10 a.m. So thank you, O6, for listening. Sana may napulot kayo for today's topic. Okay? We will be ending the session now, and next Friday is walang pasok holiday. So Sige, magplano na lang ako kung paano yung next topic natin. Alright? So, see you on our next session. You can leave the class now.
Thank you
Thank
po,
you
ma'am.
po.